So as we saw in the last video, it's very important to always talk to the artist before mixing their song. If you can hop on Zoom for a bit and allow them to talk about their sonic identity, their vision and their background, it's going to help you a lot too. And they're more likely to come back to you as well because they feel like you get them. So once you sit down to actually mix, where do you start? Well, for me, it always starts with one thing, and that is listening. Sometimes I sit for 30 minutes just taking the song in and listening to what's there, even with eyes closed. And that's a very crucial step in the mixing process that a lot of people skip and jump. And what I listen to is the rough mix. And the rough mix carries a lot of clues. It's the vision of the artist and the producer baked in during production. And I believe that is way more important than outside reference mixes. And I'm not a big reference mix kind of guy myself. I tend to get confused when I get reference mixes of other artists and songs. And I believe that the rough mix should be baked into the recording anyway and the production. So by the time it comes to me, it should be kind of clear what the reference is or what the direction is. If I recorded and produced the song myself, then the rough mix gets a different meaning. I already know the song well and I know where it's going, but I still want to have it because it gives a clue about the vibe we were going for in the studio. So I tend to bounce rough mixes all the time when I'm tracking and producing so that I can later come back to that and listen to it and get that vibe. So finally, here is something I strongly believe, that recording and mixing are basically the same thing, So when I record something, I always try to move with intention to ensure that the recording is the beginning of the mix, because you're basically making mix decisions the moment you place a mic or you commit to a sound. And I do that a lot when I'm recording. And beyond that, it's also about making sure you have the right snare drum, the right kind of bass. All these things are mixing decisions. So you could say that this mix already started at Sonic Ranch. And one thing specifically was that I put the drum room mics further away from the drums as a way to capture the entire room, because we wanted that kind of everybody in the same room kind of energy and welcoming bleed and everything. So I will probably intentionally have them louder in the mix as well to not lose that vibe. But the next step is always prepping. And prepping is never a glamorous fun job, but it's very important for the session in general. It's where you have the chance to organize everything and clean everything up, but also to get to know the song even more, because you know what's in the session. You can go through the tracks. And the more you organize your sessions in a way that suits you, the easier it will be to mix. But I really recommend doing this the day before you mix a song, because you don't want to waste your prime time doing this kind of stuff. It's better to come back the next day fresh and start mixing. All right, so here's the session. And it's a very basic thing that I'm going to show you, but it's still worth sharing. So I'm sending all my drums to the drum bus, and I have a template already that I use where I have all my buses named and created, but you can do it in your own way. You can use, numbers or your own names or anything. And I'm sending all those buses to the stereo bus, and the stereo bus goes into my master bus. And that's also where I record my mix in the end. It's a bit like a tape machine, And I do that real time. And on the same track, I also put the rough mix. And the beautiful thing is that when we press the I, the green button, we're hearing our mix. And when it's deselected, we're hearing the rough mix. So we can easily A/B between them. And here's our percussion. We have congas and bottles and shakers. And our bass bus below. And here are the keys, our Hammond piano. And then we have some very important backing vocals. Jordan, who is an artist herself and one of the students at the workshop, she did a very cool upper harmony in the chorus. And then we had Fundy, another artist who was there, who sang a lower unison vocal. And then we did a choir at the end of the song where all of us sang together in one microphone in the middle of the room, in this big live room. And that's a very important ingredient for the song before the last chorus. So I'm definitely gonna keep them present in the mix. And in this session, I'm gonna bounce the ooh vocals on the bottom. They all sing ooh. And actually that's me singing because we didn't have enough of them and I recorded those myself. And what I will do is to combine those to a stereo track in a bit, because I don't see a point having so many separate tracks when they're all doing the same thing. And this is something you can do if you want to free up space or keep your sessions clean and tidy. But it's also a good way to commit to things and to move forward. And you might have noticed that there were some volume and pan already in the session. And that's because this recording was done by me and I had some basic levels in the studio. But I decided to remove all that for this masterclass because I want to start exactly where you guys are starting. So I basically took all that away and I'm starting from scratch. But having said that, I really recommend never starting from scratch, literally when mixing, because you want to have some sort of reference always when you're starting. And that should be your rough mix, I believe, because you still want to start where the producer left off. So even if we're starting with 0 on the faders, we should still try to get to that point as soon as possible and then start from there, to recreate what they had in the rough mix. And I do that by quickly balancing my prepped mix to the rough mix before I leave the studio for the day. And then I come back the next day to start mixing the song for real. And what I do is I simply put the rough mix next to each of the tracks in the mix, and I focus on each track one by one by comparing it to what's in the rough mix. And it's a very good exercise too, because you simply focus on one instrument at a time in another mix, and that really trains you to pinpoint something in another mix. So anyway, I really recommend that you do this before starting. So I will do that now. I will show you a little demonstration of what it looks like. And it's important to mention that this is my initial rough mix sort of match. Very quick, crude, raw thing that I do before I leave. And tomorrow morning I will do this even more carefully by trying to match the vibe and I start EQing things. So I'll leave you with this demonstration and I'll see you in the next video.
Fueled by the fire, I'm this girl then should settle down with dreams. In fact, you did. Fueled by the fire, I was pulled aside, but I disconnect. Dreams of easy riches, saws ramble on. I drowned their every argument and fell on.